The concept of stoicism has changed my life completely and pretty much made me who I am today. I used to be controlled by whatever's happening around me and my life was super chaotic, but now it's the other way around. Now I'm able to take full ownership and get out of the victim mentality. And the truth is, most of the time, you actually know what to do about it, you're just avoiding it. And I'm going to teach you how to apply this concept of stoicism in a practical way for your life. I've seen a lot of people looking into stoicism as a coping strategy when they face tough situations and issues, and it's correct. Life in itself is one big coping strategy. And the whole point of stoicism is realizing that you have it in you to decide what is and isn't a problem to you. And becoming responsible for yourself is actually a really, really powerful thing. And I think that everyone needs to realize that the first step to ending any sort of unnecessary suffering is having the courage to say, I want an easy life. I deserve a life of ease, happiness, and tranquility. And I deserve all the good things that are happening to me. And trust me, it's way easier to say that I have no control because owning your autonomy, that requires strength. And seriously, don't even come at me with the whole, oh, you're a pretty girl, you don't have problems, because I worked so hard to become that girl that I am today, and nobody can take that away from me, except for myself. And you need to realize that for yourself too. And I also don't overshare my problems because negativity needs an invitation. It's better for you that nobody knows your struggles in detail so they can't use it against you. So without going into detail, I actually was diagnosed recently with PTSD and ADHD, and still, because I identify as a stoic, that hasn't changed who I am one bit. In fact, learning these things about me actually gave me more insight about myself, and it maybe validated some of the struggles that I've been through in the past. But you really need to remember this number one thing. Nothing is a problem until you make it a problem. And despite me going through trauma and learning that I'm neurodivergent, guess what? I have no issues with that at all. All of what I've experienced made me who I am today, and I learned that I'm simply built differently. And if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm May. I'm all about self-improvement, and if you're here, so are you. If at any point you find this video helpful, do give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. So today, I'm referencing some major chapters from this book called The Practicing Stoic by Ward Farnsworth. And lately, because my move to a new city has been very chaotic, I've been eating factor meals, which takes all of the complicated meal planning and wondering what I'm going to eat out of my day, and that has saved me so much time and energy. It's been helping me focus on all of the right things, and I don't have to stress out about shopping and prepping food and cooking and all of that stuff. All I have to do is to go on Factor and get a subscription of chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered to my doorstep, and I get a bunch of good, solid, delicious meals on hand that are ready to eat in 2 minutes. There's a variety of over 35 meals to choose from every week, and if you're on any specific type of food plan, they have options tailored to you, such as keto, calorie-smart meals, plant-based, vegetarian, and more. So if you have a day where you can barely function, these meals are literally easier to prepare than, say, eating instant ramen, for example. They're fresh, never frozen, and well-portioned so that no matter what, you at least know that you're making a good choice. It's also very delicious and restaurant quality, but still cheaper and faster than getting food delivery like DoorDash or Uber Eats. They also have a flexible subscription plan so I can easily adjust how many meals I want delivered, or even be able to skip a week if I have something coming up. Say, for example, if you have a vacation coming up, or if you're busy, you can always skip a week and come back the following week. And if you purchase from my link, you get to support my channel directly. Plus, you can get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box using my link. You can click the link in your description or scan the QR code with your phone. Thanks to Factor for sponsoring this video. So life is all about the dichotomy of control. There are certain things that are within our control, for example, our actions, our thoughts, and responses, while others, like external events, other people, outcomes, they're not within our control. So if you try to control something that's outside of our control, that not only makes you feel powerless, but also you become a very reactive person, and reactive people are very easily controlled by someone or something else. So what this means is, even though there's a lot of suffering in the world and a lot of political turmoil, and all of that is incredibly unfortunate, but unless you're the president of a country who has the power to control these things, we as regular individuals need to accept that we don't have that sort of power, at least the direct power, to end a war. We can't end famines and suffering, but we can do what we can in our power by responding to it and not reacting, which is creating awareness, donating and volunteering organizations that can help. We have the power to influence and vote for who deserves to be in power. We have the power to control ourselves, our reactions, our thoughts, our emotions to all of these things. On the other hand, other people and their problems, those are things that we cannot control. We can only accept them. This means that the way that our family members chooses to behave, your partner's mood swings, some celebrity on the news that bothers you for some reason, or whether we get a job or not. We can't solve other people's issues for them. We can only control the way they react to it. So control what you can and accept what you can't. So how can you apply this in real life? For example, if you're stressed about a job interview, focus on the preparation rather than the outcome itself, the decision of it. And if you have relationship issues, control your own behavior, but don't try to control how other people feel about you, because that will never work out well, and you can never control what other people think of you. Honestly, I used to struggle a lot with this because I used to be a people pleaser, but now that thought actually sets me free. It makes you not care so much. Plus, if you try to control what other people think of you, honestly, nobody really enjoys being controlled. And I always think of one of my favorite songs by the band Depeche Mode called New Dress. The lyrics basically mirror what I'm saying to you. There's so much suffering in the world, and then you see some frivolous tabloid headline like Princess Diana's wearing a new dress, and then the chorus goes into, we can't change the world, but we can change the facts. And even facts is subjective, right? It's all about perception, because even with scientific studies, if you read enough of them, even scientific studies can always contradict themselves, and this always happens. But then when you can change the facts, you gain additional points of view, and when you gain these points of view, you can influence and change the vote. And then finally, when you change the vote, only then can you change the world. And it's beautiful because all change really does start from you. You're so powerful that you can change the world by changing yourself, but not through trying to change the world itself, if that makes sense. It's not what happens to us that upsets us or makes us happy, but it's all how we interpret it. Everyone's going to see things differently, and we'll never know the full story, but only our own version of what happened. And emotions are based on judgments. They're not based on events. For example, one person's version of heaven can be another person's version of hell. It's also like how giving some girl a bouquet is a sweet thing to do, but personally, to me, it's sad for me to see a bunch of flowers being cut from his life source at its most beautiful moment, and then you're handing me a bunch of dying flowers. Personally, I have no qualms, by the way, against giving people bouquets and whatnot. Most people see it as a romantic thing, but I just don't feel at ease about it. It's a personal opinion that I have certain feelings about, and this is why allowing ourselves and other people empathy is so important, because that allows us to surrender to the fact that there's no such thing as facts. Our reality is all about the way that we see things, and everyone has their own version of reality, and emotions come from a place of judgment, not facts. That's how you can have less ego overall, is through gaining empathy, and that's how you can also mind your own business better, by understanding that not everything is for you, not everything is personal, and we don't have to react. We can choose our response. This means that if someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of reacting with anger, try and reframe it. Maybe they're rushing to an emergency. Maybe they're really late to an appointment. There's really no way for us to know unless they tell us. And if we didn't get the job promotion or a raise, instead of thinking I'm a failure or that they don't value me, see this as an opportunity to improve or explore other options. Maybe your company is on a super tight budget and they can't afford to give people raises, or maybe they're not seeing how hard you're working, but you can choose to either be better by selling yourself better and showing them how you're meeting and exceeding your goals at work, or if you deserve a better opportunity, then start looking. Remember, it's not personal. You're just trying to find the best option for yourself, and nobody can tell you that you're wrong for that. As someone who grew up as an ugly duckling, so to speak, I've learned to achieve many things in life because I'm good at choosing discomfort, and so I feel like I earned it. When you work hard to earn something, nobody can tell you that it's handed to you because they're clearly wrong. Occasionally exposing yourself to hardship actually makes you stronger and way more appreciative of what you have compared to someone who always chooses the easy way out. I know I'm built different because I choose to work hard in order to experience an easy life. And people who choose the easy option every single time and bow out of challenges will end up experiencing a difficult life. And those are the same people who will say to me, you have no problems because of blah 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 excuses and you don't know what it means to have a hard life. I know for a fact that I'm someone who practices discomfort, so I'm used to it. And what's hard mode to a lazy person is actually easy mode to me, because we will always experience discomfort no matter what. And if you can surrender to that fact and choose when to experience that discomfort, that will make it so much easier on you when you experience actual involuntary discomfort. And then when things are actually easy, you become so grateful and you're so appreciative of it, which is again what people who don't choose discipline, they cannot appreciate that, because even their easy options that they choose end up bringing them pain. And what doesn't make you go to heaven really does make you stronger and helps you learn discipline. This is how I find it easy to stick with a workout routine and be able to be strong enough to say, that issue that I'm having, that's not a problem, that's a challenge. So to apply this to real life, personally, I like to take cold showers and cold plunges to build resilience. Not to mention, temperature variations actually generally very good for your body. Even doing some kind of fast for a day or two to appreciate food when it's given to you and understand self-discipline. Giving up something on purpose so that you can appreciate it. So I'm not Roman Catholic, but I'm practicing Lent right now, and learning to give up something, it makes it easy for you to resist temptation. Even sleeping on a hard surface sometimes, or doing an extra tough workout occasionally, to remind yourself that comfort is a privilege, and earning that privilege makes everything even more worth it than just being handed to you. Another concept of stoicism is premeditatio, malorum, which is also known as negative visualization. So I'm not a huge fan of dwelling on negativity, because again, there's so many things in life that we can't control, and dwelling on the negative leads to overthinking and rumination. But still, you should to an extent do your due diligence to expect any kind of challenges and setbacks so that they don't catch you off guard. Meaning, before an important meeting, consider what could possibly go wrong and mentally prepare for it. Especially if your boss isn't someone who's super positive, for example, at least you can anticipate what you're getting into and protect yourself. That isn't to say to expect the worst, always expect the best, but prepare for the worst too. Another way to practice this is to think about how you would handle any sort of financial situations or trouble before it happens, so you're ready in case it does. Always live within your means and remind yourself that tomorrow is never guaranteed, and the people who you love, the invites that you're getting from friends to hang out, none of those things are sticking around forever, so cherish it while you can. But obviously, always focus on the best, hope for the best, expect the best. But in case something happens otherwise, you're also prepared for it. Every single thing that you experience shapes you into the person that you are today, including all of the negative things, and especially the negative things. Not in an it is what it is kind of way, but in a way that says, this is exactly what I needed right now, even if I don't see it yet, even if it's awful. So stop fighting reality when it happens. Whatever happens, happens, and then pick up the pieces and own it. This is the concept of amor fati, which means loving your fate, which basically means not only accepting what happens to you, you use that to build yourself up and become even better. Every setback, every rejection or challenge is an opportunity for your growth. If you get rejected, great. That just means it wasn't for you and something better is coming your way. So the faster you move on, then the sooner you're going to open yourself up for opportunities. So clinging on to whatever wasn't meant for you is only going to delay your progress. And if you're struggling, that struggle is there to build you into someone even stronger. Every setback is just life pushing you in the right direction, whether you realize it or not. The more you resist that and complain about it, the harder it's going to be. Hard times forces you to build skills, build resilience and patience that having an easy life never can. So the sooner you stop seeing obstacles as unfair and start seeing it as part of your personal growth, the stronger you're going to become. If something awful happens, try and love what happens to you, no matter how terrible it is. Because once you get through it, that's when you level up and become even stronger and wise. And if you can learn to love your struggles, you stop being a victim of circumstance and you start becoming the person who thrives no matter what happens. Love your fate and nothing can break you. Everything has an expiration date, including you. It might be a few decades from now, it might be tomorrow. Memento mori means you will expire someday. And the thing is, you don't ever get to know the future until you experience it. So there's no use living fully in the future. All that matters is now. So what you do get to do though is to stop wasting time on things that don't actually matter and start living like you actually understand that the clock is ticking. Think about it. How much of your life is spent procrastinating and putting things off off. I'll just do it tomorrow. Guess what? Tomorrow is never guaranteed. Even if you have an entire life plan ahead of you, you can never actually anticipate what's going to happen. If you keep waiting for the right time to start your project or to travel or to tell people around you that you love them or to live your dream life, there is never going to be that right time. So stop waiting around and do it right now. I always think of anxiety, for example, as the biggest waster of my time and my life force. Seriously, every single second that you spend on petty things like thinking negatively about situations, stupid arguments, overthinking, anxiety, or even worrying about things outside of your control, not only is it all harmful to you at the end of the day, this is also time that you will never get back. And you might even end up harming people around you. Living life like you're gonna die tomorrow doesn't mean that you're gonna be reckless. Rather, it means that you're going to become more intentional. If today were your last day, will you be proud of yourself and everything that you did? If not, then do something about it, because one day your time will run out. So don't give yourself the chance to regret your life. Another thing is, if you're only doing the right thing when people are watching, then you're doing it for all the wrong reasons, especially if you're a people pleaser. And I learned my mistakes back when I was one, because people pleasers are not really that nice. They're only performing niceness. All they care about is what other people think of them. So do the right thing because it's the right thing, not because you want credit for it. Do your duty, whatever the word duty means to you, regardless of recognition. Having actual integrity means showing up on time, putting in the work in silence, and doing what needs to be done whether anyone claps for you or not. Recognition is nice, and sometimes if you're trying to level up in the corporate world, it's needed, but it's not the goal. The goal, honestly, is to become someone who doesn't need recognition in order to do what's right. This is the pitfall for a lot of people who enter the self-improvement journey. They start performing improvement, so they feel like a huge disconnect, and then they will lash out and think that's not worth it to become better. It is if you're doing it as a duty to yourself. Level up for yourself and not for other people. This includes helping people without expecting a thank you in return, working hard even if no one sees it except for yourself and God sees it. And be kind and show kindness even when you're not posting it on Instagram stories. Because at the end of the day, what you do in silence will say a lot more about you than anything that you do for attention. Your true character is built in the moments when nobody is watching you. Control your emotions or else they're going to control you. And acting on impulse, it feels like the right thing to do in the heat of the moment, but that's also how you end up saying or doing something that you're going to regret. Your first reaction is usually the worst one. And the difference between reacting and responding to something is only a few extra seconds of self-control. And those seconds can save you from saying or doing something stupid. If you want to gain power over your emotions and control them, learn to pause and give yourself a moment to think before you react. If you feel angry about something, stop and breathe and recognize where the anger comes from. Because I always say this, every emotion has a meaning to it. For example, with anger, right? Anger is a very protective emotion. It knows when you've been harmed. It knows when something is bothering you, and it's there to protect you. So you should try and use it for its intended meaning. So if you get an email that pisses you off, don't respond right away and actually just sit on it for a bit and really think about a cool and controlled way to respond to it. If someone pushes your buttons, don't snap at them and go crazy. Actually control the situation by controlling yourself. If you have to walk away and collect your thoughts, then do that. The goal isn't to suppress your emotions. It's to master it and train yourself to observe how you're feeling instead of just blindly acting on impulse. The more you practice this, the less power outside forces will have over you. And that's real power and control. And the less you actually need, the more freedom you have. So train yourself to desire less. Capitalism is always going to have you chasing after new trends, new gadgets, new social status symbols, because that is exactly how capitalism functions. But at the end of the day, that will never give you satisfaction. Satisfaction is not about getting more. It's about being happy with less. And the more you crave, the more you desire, the more power the world has over you, because you're always going to be convinced that something better is always going to be out there. But it's never going to be enough. And trust me, I bought my share of designer handbags. I used to have a boat, and they always say this, a boat owner's happiest days are 2 days, the day that they buy the boat and the day that they sell it. And trust me, I was very happy when I sold it. And I know I always talk about like, oh, maybe I should buy another one, but I honestly don't know if I'm serious or not. Before you actually buy something, you should ask yourself, do I actually want this thing, or am I being conditioned by society to desire it? Like, do I actually think that this is going to improve my life, or do I think that's going to make me look good on social media? So learn to find peace and joy, honestly, in what you already have and what you can create for yourself, and learn to value other things outside of the world of capitalism, like a quiet morning, for example, a simple and delicious meal, good company, simple and pure love, love from your pets, love from your plants, love from family, love from your partner, and even just going to the park and enjoying nature. For me personally, and also there's been studies done, like a luxurious vacation won't actually make you happier than backpacking. Or people don't actually find more happiness after making a certain amount of money, and usually that certain amount of money is just enough to be comfortable. Or my personal favorite is using a few dollars to buy happiness instead of spending, you don't have to spend like 10 grand or something. I like to spend $5 to buy a small pot of flowers that will blossom if I take good care of it and I water it. Or even just delicious street food. It makes me way happier than spending $500 at Nobu. Because if you can't be happy with what you have now and what you can easily get without spending a ton of money, no amount of more will ever be enough for you. And the moment you stop letting the desire for more run your life, that's how you take your power back. The best life is also one where you prioritize learning and character over wealth and fame. Seek wisdom over status, because the latter is what capitalism, once again, tells us that we should have. It's almost like a continuation from the last chapter, right? Sometimes we're going to look at someone else's life and we're going to think, wow, they have everything anyone could ever want. A nice house, lots of luxury travel, a friend group that's glamorous, dressed in designer clothes at glamorous events. Maybe they're beautiful and they're rich and they have millions of followers. But remember, we don't have all of the facts, so we will never understand the full picture. Maybe these people don't know how to make tough decisions for themselves. Maybe everyone around them's using them. Maybe they take everything for granted, which is also the fastest way to feel unsatisfied and empty in life. Or we don't actually even know if they work hard to achieve all of that, or if they were just born with it. And by the way, being beautiful and rich and having a million followers or whatever is not the cheat code to an easy life that people think it is. More often than not, that actually invites more problems. Basically, comparing yourself to other people is super unproductive. It doesn't actually help you and it doesn't help anyone else. In fact, no matter how much chasing you do after social status, trying to keep up with the Jonases, at the end of the day, is still not going to give you any satisfaction, no matter how much it's being glamorized. You're better off just focusing on doing things that make you happy and build your knowledge and your character and pursue your life purpose. Not only that, you have to see your life as a whole, because in the overall context of life itself, you're probably doing way better than you think. So learn to be happy with exactly what you are and who you are. So how do you do more of that? Try and read daily to expand your mind and learn new things every day. Books can be such an incredible, amazing experience, and you don't even need to travel to experience that. Surround yourself with people who actually challenge you to grow and not challenge you to buy more stuff or compare who has a nicer car or nicer shoes. Honestly, none of those things really matter. I don't even need to have a car right now, and I save money on parking and insurance by taking other forms of transportation everywhere. Like, I love my e-scooter, I love taking an Uber if I need to go somewhere, and just living in a comfortable and walkable neighborhood where I can get everything I need and it's convenient for me and I live perfectly fine. Judge success by how well you live and how much wisdom you have, not by how much you earn or how expensive your clothes are. Materialism is meaningless unless it's a way to make you satisfied with your own life. Like, if you're buying something that you like to look at and makes you feel good, that's it. I'd rather be smart and filled with wisdom than covered in diamonds. At the end of the day, stoicism isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about controlling them and mastering life. And I promise you, by applying all of these things in this video, you're going to have a calmer and wiser and a much more fulfilling life. So if you got to the end of this video, say it back to me in the comments. I deserve all the good things in my life. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.